manifestation begins with desire.
Mm.
Because it's a time-tested universal law that if you cannot fully manifest if your heart's not in it. This is why I believe that women have hit glass ceilings. How many of us have heard that's like, oh, women get to, if you're a women business owner, you hit the $1 million, and most it's a crazy stat. It's like 98% or something like that. Women can't get past the $1 million of revenue produced in a company. And it's because, in my viewpoint, we've left our heart on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done it in the highly educated, highly trained, highly, you got your act together, but you used your masculine energy and your fuel from your suffering patterns in your life to get there, to prove that we are enough and we are worthy and we belong at the table. What's going on, everybody? Julie Murphy here, and I have spent over the last 25 plus years being a financial planner. If you keep focusing on the shame, you keep focusing on the guilt, all you're going to keep, no different than if you keep focusing on all the debt that you have, you're just going to create more of that. That's it. So we have to interrupt those mental patterns. That's where the mindset piece actually comes in, but you have to focus on what your heart wants and then allow the mental patterns then to dissipate and recreate a new subconscious patterning. There's lots of subliminal messaging things. Like, I love Kelly Howell. If anyone's ever listened to her, that's a great resource. You just put them in while you sleep. It's brainsync.com, and remove guilt, remove shame, because your subconscious mind, Dr. Bruce Lipton is a biologist, and he has taught us that 97% of our response to the external world comes from our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind, the guilt, the shame, the whatever that story is, that is hardwired into us by the time we're 7 years old. And you are now acting that out in your lifetime until you rewire your subconscious. And a lot of women out there will tell me, well, Julie, I would love to do that. I don't have the time, blah, blah. I'm sorry. You can turn on a Bluetooth speaker while you're sleeping. And that's why the Kelly Howell stuff works so great. It takes 6 weeks of listening to that every night while you're sleeping. It's an hour, and it will rewire your subconscious mind. And
brainsync.com, a couple of people are asking brainsync.com. Okay,
yep.
Let's put that in there. Yeah, I love that. I love the rewiring the brain. And I mean, one of the things that Lipton's really also shown us is how plastic our our wiring is. Like they used to say, and you said it, hardwired, right? We used to think it was hardwired, which really a lot of us take that to mean it's unchangeable, right?
Yeah, but that's what they would love for us to believe, right?
Yeah, but it's like, well, but I think, science, they just hadn't evolved to the point where they saw, I mean, science is always evolving, right? And that's why when people say, well, it's science, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but of what era? Because there are things used to be a planet in the 19th century that are really scary. If you think, they used to think that if a woman went on a train, that her uterus would fly out of her mouth. So, I mean, this is actually, medical journals were written about this. Okay. So anyway, so it's plastic, right? Actually, in neuroscience is showing how plastic it is, and also we can change our epigenes, or the epigene expression, which is what Bruce Lipton was all about, right? Like some people even say you can change your DNA. Some people say no, you can't change your DNA, but you can change your epigenes. So anyway, but I'm always saying nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. You can change anything.
Your brain, every cell in your brain is completely replaced within 60 days. So what do you want your brain to be 60 days from now? That's what I want you to put out there. What do you want to create? What do you want to, all those heart's desires? And let's get it rewired. Every cell in your brain is changed in 60 days. That's incredible.
Well, you have a process you're going to take us through, right? So we get to start rewiring our brains right now. Yes.
Which actually leads to the first one. And so kind of give you a little glimpse, about my 4 spiritual laws of money. I was going to share the 4 laws with you. The first one is that manifestation begins with desire. Because it's a time-tested universal law that if you cannot fully manifest if your heart's not in it. This is why I believe that women have hit glass ceilings. How many of us have heard that's like, oh, women get to, if you're a women business owner, you hit the $1 million, and it's a crazy stat. It's like 98% or something like that. Women can't get past the $1 million of revenue produced in a company. And it's because, in my viewpoint, we've left our heart on the sidelines, and we've done it in the highly educated, highly trained, highly, you got your act together, but you used your masculine energy and your fuel from your suffering patterns in your life to get there, to prove that we are enough and we are worthy and we belong at the table, right? But that's where the ceiling gets hit, because the quantum leap doesn't happen until you pull your heart into the process. And that's when quantum manifestation occurs. And remember, money is just the result of all of those things. So as an example, if any of you have heard of heart math, they've done all the research that we have to get our heart and our heads to actually work together. And the question is how do we then do that? Like, many of us don't realize that our heart actually has brain cells in our heart. And so those brain cells need to be activated to then to talk to your heart and then get in the gamma state for the manifestation of your greatest potential outcome in this lifetime. And that may sound like a lot, and there's certainly things out there that you can look at to kind of go, what did she just say? But this is about where, when you actually tap into your heart and you really spend the time, and people go, well, how do I do that? Because I realized, I was married for 15 years. And then I realized that I was in a marriage that I actually didn't feed my heart and soul any longer. And I was like, oh, I was negotiating myself away, because we all, before 7 years old, have some kind of trauma or rejection that has occurred. And that's what actually creates this hardwiring in our subconscious mind. And so that's why you can get divorced and then you'll just date somebody else that's got the exact same wiring, because it's a trauma meeting a trauma. And until you change your inside for that other person to show up in a different way or vibrate away from you, you're just going to keep repeating the pattern. So how do we get out of that? It's like, when I got out of my divorce, I was sitting here going, what does my heart want? I couldn't even tap into it at that time. So sometimes when we've ignored our hearts for so long, we have to just keep asking the questions, because it's kind of like getting the beat going again. It's like, what does my heart want? Like, put your hand on your heart. That's one of the first steps in, if you took 3 minutes every day, and even if it's a really hard thing for you to tune into, if you do it day after day, for only 3 minutes, and trust me, I got 4 kids, I run a business, I don't have time, but I figure out how to take 3 minutes, and you tune into your heart. And now you may have such a guarded heart that putting your hand over your heart like this doesn't work. Because I remember when mine was like, okay, I'll put my hand on my heart. And I was like, I put a finger on it, because I had so many built up heart walls of protection that is like, I was afraid, right? I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want, I was just going to push through and I was going to make it happen. I was going to survive. And I was like, I got this. And it was like, no. So be gentle with yourself. This is part of what I was talking about, where you have to hold a safe container for yourself. So if you can only tap your heart twice and put it down, okay, great. That's where you start. Just knowing that the goal eventually is to get whole heart or 2 hands over your heart, right? So you have to meet yourself where you're at. All right. Because you have to accept every ounce of reality that you actually have already created. And I want you guys to sink that in. I need each one of you to truly, deeply accept 100% of everything that you've created in your life thus far. And because if you don't, that is your block from being able to manifest and get to that next place. So once we get to that place, we say, okay, I'm tuned into my heart. Now don't focus on what you've created. You just have to accept what you've created.
Nice
right?
distinction, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just accept. Don't focus on it. Just go, yep, there's that pile of poop. Okay, I'm good. I keep going hey, you keep bearing your head over there. Go over there. I have fun with it now. I talk to my past going, yeah, I know, blah, blah, blah. And so once you tap into your heart, because if you can see, I'm in my heart essence and what I love to do, and that's when you find your giggle again, right? Then I need you to tune into your breath. So this is where some of the yogic stuff comes, right? Yogi stuff comes in. So we need you to slow your breath down, because that's, again, when you physiologically calm your nervous system down, you drop into your heart. When you have a hijacked nervous system, which can happen in a pandemic or losing your job or not enough money, like there's plenty of things out there that can hijack your nervous system these days, right? And then we get in our head and then we're like, we're calling up all of our girlfriends going, oh my God, I gotta talk about this. No, 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 no. Drop in your heart. And how you do that through your breath is, so you breathe in to the count of 5 and then out to the count of 8. And try to breathe out your mouth. And what you do is you go in for 5 and out for 8. You'll see that you start to settle in while you're keeping your hands on your heart. This is dropping you into your heart space. Now, manifestation begins with desire. So that's the first spiritual law of money. So far, so good?
So, yeah. You liking it out there? Let us know. We already had some yes. Love it. Love find your giggle. Yes, this is fantastic. Yes.
Your giggle is your compelling reason for change, because you're not going to create any other different financial reality or work-life reality or family reality. You will not change that reality, even though you think you are, unless your heart is coming along for the road. And that's your compelling reason for change, because that you want more than recreating the patterns that you already have. Right? All right. So this is where it kind of leads into the second spiritual law, where it's that we really need to understand that our heart is way stronger than our brains. Now, how does that come into play? And I mentioned that, when we tap into it, you're the strongest magnet on the earth. And if you've never heard of heart math, to kind of give you an idea, they couldn't figure out why the magnetic force of the earth wound up 4.1 times its normal reading on 9/11. And they realized because it was the human heart around the globe that felt for New York at that time. And the magnetic force of the earth went 4.1 times its normal reading. Then they started to look back and go, what are those other points, peaks in history? What happened at those peaks? Mother Teresa died. Princess Diana died. For better, for worse, when The Bachelor first picked his chick that he wanted to date. Like, it's the most world-renowned show watched. I know it's kind of crazy. But these were the peaks that heart math actually recognized, that it was all connected to the human heart. Okay? So in understanding that, and you might be somebody that's left brain logical, and you know what? I would encourage you, go look at Greg Braden's work if you want to learn more of the science behind this, or heart math. .org. Go look at heart math, because Greg Braden's communication is all about heart math research.
And heart math is all science-based, just so you guys know.
Yeah, that's
it's
why if you need
science-based.
So if you're like me, where I got this left brain, it's like, prove it to me, prove it. You may have to see the goods, and some of you might be like, okay, I got it, no problem. I don't need to see proof, I'm off. However you're wired, it's perfect. Just get whatever tools you need to help you get to the next step, to understand that really, truly, that your heart is smarter than your brain. But again, we have to remember, we have limiting belief systems that say, wow, if I follow my heart, I can't get paid. And that is so not true, right? And so this is about waking your heart up. I made some, we can't leave our heart on the sidelines anymore. Like, this is how this rewiring has to happen. That's why while you're working on building the muscle for the new you, the new brain, and aligning with your heart, I need you to put these things on autopilot so that it positions you to be lucky, so that you actually have the success that you desire and you don't wind up falling into your old patterning. That's just like a practical piece.
It's awesome. It's awesome, because this is also, we have to, you make things real when you make it practical in your life.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. We can all have great ideas about things, and we can even feel certain ways, but it's when we actually manifest it in our life. Right. And because, transformation does not happen without application and integration.
So true. Right.
It doesn't happen. You can think that maybe it is, because maybe you think you're thinking differently, but transformation requires application and integration. So Julie, I'm just saying, we just have like 5 more minutes or so. We can go a couple minutes over, but I want to hear the other 2 laws.
Yes, absolutely. So number 3, we talked about a little bit already, is that intention redirects your energy. So That's the planting of the seeds for your future. And that's why I want your money. Because remember, money comes from the word currency, and currency comes from current, and that means it flows. So I want you to take the word budget completely out of your vocabulary. No one on this as a budget ever again. Why? Because a budget makes you feel like you're stuck. It makes you feel like you're pigeonholed. It makes you feel like you can't choose your life the way you want to choose your life. So I want you to change that to the word cash flow, because then you're now operating out of your third chakra from your place of empowerment and not your victim and scarcity mindset, because that's what budget does. It's like budget scarcity. Whereas if you say, how do I want my cash to flow? Now you may have to make tough choices in that cash flow, but it's a different way of approaching it in terms of, it's kind of like, I decided in my divorce process, like the alimony payment that I pay is a very high number. And it was 2/3 of what we operated on a household budget, cash flow, right? And my biggest thing was I wanted to get out of the energy of the court system because it was all coming at me. And the way I could do that was to be abundant. And I said, just tell me what your number is for this to end by Friday. And he goes, seriously? I go, yeah. And it ended that Friday. And I gave him his number. And but I chose that from a place of empowerment so that I could get out of the energy of all this gunk. And so that I could choose. And that can be from your cable bill to whatever. I want you to choose it because that's what your heart wants and that's what you desire. And that's also keeping you open to the flow of life. And that intention behind that, we have to really realize that that's the energy behind everything. Everything. Okay. And the fourth one is the universe responds to action. Because if we don't put these things in place, like they're airy fairy up here. So this is our divine feminine magic alchemy. Like we can go up here in the ethers. We can all be our little witch selves, right? Like we can redirect and do all that, right? If you're really in tune with your divine feminine energy, we have way more power than we even realize. And we have to pull it down into the world that we live in. So I have a lot of women who won't open up their envelopes, or they then get in a relationship and they turn their money decisions over to the dude. And I'm like, what are you doing? You are way more powerful than he is, and it's because of this lack of confidence that we have. And it's about that. You have to do the action steps because the universe is going to respond to you. If you are going to not look at the envelopes, or you're going to turn it over to somebody else making those decisions, or any of those things, that's not you telling the universe, I want more of this. So we have to realize that however we're choosing to step into it, and again, remember, you may have a very unsafe financial container. So you have to do whatever you can to create that safety in that container. And that's why I say meeting yourself where you're at and accepting yourself for exactly what's created. And then take those baby steps because, you can't eat the whole elephant at the same time. You just can't, and we have to realize that, there's a reason, our third eye can see the vision of it, and that might scare you. Okay, well, you have your practical reality along with your vision. It's the integration of those two. It's really the integration of those two. And so just remember that every action that you take, or lack thereof action, is the order you're putting back in to what you are going to manifest. And that's why these 4 spiritual laws of money continue like a continuous cycle, because you will get deeper and deeper levels of your soul as you go through this process. And you don't even realize how great it's going to be. It's really fascinating because you will giggle like you've never been before when you pay attention to your own heart. I have so many females right now that are either being let go of jobs, or they're like, we can no longer negotiate ourselves away to climb in our careers or climb in our work lives. We are finally to a point where we can't do that, because we're getting sick. Because when we don't take action that aligns with our hearts, disease develops in our body, because those emotions that we are not processing and realizing to move through, like the fear or whatever. And it's not just only ours, it's the women of all the generations past, right? It's with us, and we're breaking through things that women have never broken through before. And we're going to do it in a big way. And when we're doing that, it's like just breathing through that process. That's why sitting down, touching your heart, breathing, and then feel the feelings. Feel those feelings as if it's already happened. Because those emotions, when we don't feel them, crystallize in our physical bodies. And that's actually what creates disease over time.
I love that. I love that. All right, everyone, we're going to have to wrap up for now. We have Dawn Delaveco coming on at the top of the hour. So Julie, thank you. And
he can give you the book link to, you guys can get my book at no cost, right? I just want you to pay for your own shipping. So
okay.
We've got that link for you guys. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, whatever it is, I mean, it'll be in whatever you gave me, Julie, is in, it's on her module on the conference page.
Perfect.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you so much, Julie. Did you guys love this? Yes. Thank you very much. It's been amazing. Okay. So, all right. Thanks so much, Julie.
Everybody, find your giggle.
Okay. Thanks, Julie. Bye for now.
Bye.